You know, when I make a talking head video, it's me jumping on a bandwagon, right? Here we go. So if you want results like, if you want results like these, where you can have all of these countries listed, the best thing you can do is to make sure that your game needs to sign into a Sony PSN account when you don't have one or can't get one. These 170 countries are the ones that are now... They cannot play Helldivers 2 because of this whole rule that Sony have put in. You must now have a PSN account to play Helldivers 2. So every single one of these countries, the ones that I was quite surprised with, like things like Japan, Georgia, the Isle of Man and Guernsey, which are quite close to the United Kingdom. In all of these countries, you can't play Helldivers 2 anymore because of the some of them you're not allowed to play the game unless you've got a PSN account. Some of them can't actively have a PSN account due to worldwide difference. Now, the reason why I'm jumping on this bandwagon is because I don't own Helldivers 2. The reason why I don't own it is just because I don't have really the time to play it myself, and that's just unfortunate. But I'm one of these people who stands behind the community to do my part, as they like to say, because you're up against the worlds of bugs and trying to kill people, trying to kill bugs, and you're doing it for Super Earth. So we're doing this for super gamers all around the world. So this is the post from the community manager of the Helldivers 2 Discord. One person replied, there is a better solution. Get rid of the mandatory sign up at Sony. Can't be trusted to keep a pebble safe and let alone people's actual data. What this person's referring to is the fact that Sony have been hacked so many times that data breaches happen quite frequently at Sony. Even though apparently they're a major corporation who have like good security, it seems a little bit bad, doesn't it? But the community manager replies, if a better solution isn't provided for players who are in regions without PSN coverage, I'm assured that we won't be making the requirements mandatory for those players. We're not going to force people to either break Sony TOS or not play the game. Oh yes, they just did. In order to do this mandatory sign-up through a PSN account, you have to have access to Sony's PSN, or you have to have a VPN. Now, VPNs basically go against the terms of service of Sony, which means you're not really supposed to do it because it mimics your connection to somewhere else around the world, and you'll be fine, but that's breaking TOS with Sony. You're not supposed to falsify your address or details. That's just where they've gone, which is why now 170 countries can no longer play Helldivers 2. This isn't good. By the way, if anything I'm saying is crap, let me know in the comment section, because this sort of thing happens where I don't know everything. I'm not supposed to know everything, but it helps if people can chime in. They did release this massive statement on Steam on the Friday the 3rd of May. This was before the bonfire was truly lit under Helldivers 2's feet. Attention Helldivers, due to technical issues at the launch of Helldivers 2, we allowed the linking requirements for Steam accounts to a PlayStation Network account to be temporarily optional. Yes, okay, temporarily optional. That grace period will now expire. See details below in this post. And basically it gives you the reasons why it was all done. The problem is now enforcing this months later has basically taken all of those people who signed up in the initial first place who don't want Sony to be part of their account system. And for all those people who play, for those people who play PC only, who do not have a PSN account, who never wanted a PS account, who never have played a PlayStation game in their lives because they're PC players, some people don't have PSN accounts for those reasons. They don't have access to them, or they just don't want one. And now it's mandatory to have one to play this game. If this was a thing on day of release, Helldivers 2 would not have sold as well as it did. And the reason why it sold as well as it did is because it was open. Now you're closing the gates. Now all those people are now leaving negative reviews, which doesn't go in favour of Helldivers 2. Unfortunately, within the last sort of couple of days, over 100,000 people have negatively reviewed this game, such as this person here. Epic game, but why must we link a PSN account? Unacceptable. PSN, GG. Pathetic, greedy, narcissistic Sony. Once a great game, now it's just Sony screwing the game so bad. Ellie Greed was a great game at one time until Sony ruined it. I'll never buy a PS anything ever again. Trash company. Hope Arrowhead goes independent with their next title. they release. And this is just constant. Every single person on here, predominantly a PC player because this is Steam, but all these people choose not to have a PSN account because they don't trust Sony or don't want anything to do with Sony, but now they're being told they have to. Now, being that's being enforced months after the initial term of when the game came out, that is not a good practice. So this comes from the actual developers from Helldivers to Arrowhead. So players are making their displeasure known through reviews, refunds, etc. give us more pull in this decision with Sony. They don't read our Discord. It hurts to see the game's popularity suffering in ratings, but discussions are ongoing and our team is on the side of the players in this fight. So you do have the support of Arrowhead. This isn't an Arrowhead decision. This is a PlayStation. This is a Sony decision to implement this now and not months ago when they had technical problems. It's unrealistic to expect people to make PSN accounts in different regions to get past the account leaking requirements. We're aware of that. Discussions are ongoing. And basically what they're talking about there is having to use a VPN to create a PSN account in a different country, which goes against the TOS of Sony as well. So Sony are digging their own grave on this one subject, because in order for me to make a Sony account, I have one. It's okay. Yes, okay. It gets data breached every sort of once or twice a year, but that's just Sony. That's why hardly any of my details are on their account. But when it comes down to a person who lives in, let's say, Angola, who wants to play Helldivers, but they have to have a PSN account and they can't. Let's say that's one of the countries that can't get a PSN account. They are then forced to use a VPN to sign in somewhere else around the world so that their PSN account goes live so they can play Helldivers 2. Number one, it goes against TOS. Number two, that's a lot of freaking effort just to play a bloody video game that you had access to only days ago. So this is Hill versus Babyface. If you don't know him, his name is Az. He's normally on the Friday Nights Tight group. And this is another reason why players are a little bit like dubious of Sony, and it's going to get bad. I'll play this clip. It starts about here, and we'll go from there.
Abattoir, especially when you see stuff like this. New Sony patent would auto-detect in-game harassment by using biometric data to read your emotions.
So basically what Sony want to do is they're trying to put this patent through to basically an in-game harassment biometric data. Now this basically means if you're caught teabagging or things over and over again in gaming, then this will pick up on you, and then all of a sudden you could be banned from games. So when me and my brothers are fudging around in a computer game shooting each other in GTA, and then all of a sudden one of us gets banned because of this harassment bug, this is something that I'm actually I would be more scared of. Now this is just a patent going through. If the patent actually goes through and becomes an actual thing for Sony, then this could be one of those things that spoils gaming for like everybody, which isn't good.
The tech would allow Sony to take action on harassment without users needing to file a report. Oh, we sense that you're being toxic. Our algorithm will automatically ban you or restrict you from the game. And if Sony have any sort of say when it comes to a game on a different platform that is feeding this sort of algorithm into it, you can be banned from a game on Steam because Sony deemed it so, or at least Sony's biometric fucking data did. Needless.
So yeah, basically what it's saying is that let's say that your Steam account is linked to your PlayStation account, and this patent goes through and they're able to create this biometric data reader which can basically scan through your gameplay and tell you that if you're being a good boy or a bad boy. All of a sudden your Steam account might not work on that game as well because it's attached to your PSN. And this is where it all goes wrong for Sony. Having all of these people now pissed off, and that just a background thing that no one really knows about right now. That's been blasted up on Twitter. That has been ratioed to smeggery now. This is what we mean by too much control causes too many problems. And I get the whole, like, people feel a bit more safe when certain things happen, and now Sony is now trending on Twitter. Sony snapped the Helldivers community. Exactly. Arrowhead devs watching as Sony destroys 7 years of their life. Sony, it's not Arrowhead. There's no effing way Sony is doubling down on this. You are actually nuking the game. All these people, they just became, you cannot play this game. Bloody hell, even the Act Man's chiming in. Sony is effing insane. Arrowhead weren't even given details on how this new update for Helldivers 2 would work with regions that can't make a PSN account. How the F is it? How do you F up this bad, Sony? Look, I know it sounds like weird, because I sort of respect the Act Man, also I've had a go at him in the past, but even he's saying this is a bad idea. So there's a lot of people and a lot of gamers who are now pissed off about this, and rightly so. You guys have got reason to be. Court Black Garrett is the one that actually said pulled this up about the devs. Game is now unplayable to purchase Steam in tons of countries due to PSN login requirements. Steam is approving refunds requests from players even if they've played over 2 hours. Over 100,000 negative reviews since change was announced. So all within a couple of days, a massive bonfire has been lit underneath the arses of Sony, and it's Sony's fault that this is happening. It's nothing to do with Arrowhead. So for all those people out there who are having a go at the devs, which is not the people who caused this problem, this is a Sony problem. Completely. All that said and done, it's Sony screwing up here. Sony screwing over the player base. Sony screwing everything else over, and it's not great. I gotta be honest. This is one of apart from like Gamergate 2, and bits and pieces, and so on and so forth. This is one of the worst things that a gaming company's ever done. And Sony aren't really a gaming company. This is just an overall company. It's not PlayStation. This is Sony in themselves. And I don't like it. And it does make me consider my future purchases now. Do I really want anything attached to a Sony account if this is how they're going to pull like the rope on everything? Because this just screws over the community of players, not themselves. Well, now it's going to screw themselves. I guarantee this will actually, this is going to hit Sony in the stock market as well, because people just don't trust them now. And that's just me. I mean, I've been playing games for too long now, but I've got to be honest. This is not good. And the more that companies push for power and control, the more the player base or people are just going to stop listening to you anyway. So for me, personally, Sony can do what they like. Is it going to stop me buying a PlayStation in the future? Yeah, sure. Is it going to stop me playing anything to do with Sony's games? Yes, and it will. If this sort of malpractice continues, then I don't want to be a part of it. And I'm predominantly a console. I play on everything. I've got a console, I've got the PC, and I've got access to the Xbox account if I want it. But if it came to a push and a shove, I would just ditch Sony straight away, because this actually goes against my morals as a person who's a consumer of gaming. I don't like the fact that game studios try to push this much control over its player base. It never used to be like this, but apparently everyone's fighting for your information now. Don't worry, Sony will get hacked again, I don't know, this year probably. And all those people that had to sign up for a PSN account just because of Helldivers 2 will have all their details splurged across the internet in the next data breach. But, it's all fun and games, isn't it? Until my next one, guys. Peace out, have fun. Enjoy everything you guys do. Ah, boom. Fist bump to you.